Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Phoenix and this is the Consumer's Guide to Video Games. Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2, 2024, Saber Interactive. Space Marine 2 is a third-person action game. Taking place long after the events of Space Marine 1, we once again take control of Captain Titus of the Ultramarines. Killed in action, Titus is brought back to life and is transferred to Second Company. However, due to the stink of heresy, Titus is demoted to lieutenant. Commanding a new squad under the eye of Captain Acheron, Titus is thrust into a war with the Tyranids. But soon, the forces of chaos rear their head again, and Titus must shoot and slice his way through both Xeno and heretic scum in the name of the Emperor. By the glory of Ultramar, an entertaining and much improved successor to a modern cult hit. Pretty much everything about this game is a cut above Space Marine 1. Where the combat in this game's predecessor was rather simplistic and old school, Saber Interactive took great care in making sure Space Marine 2 was a more challenging experience. While this game retains that hack and slash feel of the previous entry, the combat now incorporates elements such as blocking and parrying and dodging. While turning bugs into mulch, certain enemies will require you to fight with more finesse. These design philosophies can sometimes clash, as fighting off hordes of enemies, especially when they have guns, can be a little too overwhelming. I played on hard difficulty, and while it isn't a nightmare, certain battles will be a little frustrating due to how much they throw at you. But if you charge forward and fight with everything you got, you'll probably survive quite easily. Multiplayer in this game is now a primary component. Along with Captain Titus's adventures, you can engage in side missions with your friends, or total strangers, doing all the things that were happening in between Titus's missions. Seeing as I wanted to give everything in this game a chance, I decided to resubscribe to PlayStation Plus and give it a go. Honestly, what I played of it was pretty fun. I imagine it would be more fun with people I actually know, but whatever. There also seems to be a competitive multiplayer component, but I didn't play it, so I can't comment on it. But in general, the server seems strong and there seems to be a healthy player base, so I doubt I'd be waiting long for games to load or players to join in any of these modes. But herein lies one of my gripes with this game. I find that Saber seemed to focus a little too much on the multiplayer component and sort of left the single player in the lurch. I don't have anything against multiplayer. It's a good way to extend the game's shelf life, especially if it's good multiplayer. But the story mode in Space Marine 2 is just pitifully short. There are 5 stages, 1 or 2 have separate parts to them, and if you get good and power through it, you'll probably be done with the story in, 6 to 8 hours? If that? Playing this with friends seems like a fun-ass time, but that isn't a priority for me. I want more Titus, baby, and this game gave me barely any Titus. Hopefully there's a DLC mission or 2 in the oven, but for now, I'm left wanting for more. Thankfully, the team at Saber did not leave me wanting in the art department. This game is an incredible leap up from the previous game, visually and aesthetically. Taking those comic book style bulking behemoths known as Space Marines and running them through their current swarm engine, these character models are square-jawed beefy boys, but they are full of emotive and detailed texture work. The Tyranid and Chaos hordes you burn through are really well designed, and it is amazing how many of these models are running around in a given environment. Those environments as well are visual feasts, jungles, factories, archaeology digs. Your typical sort of video game levels look about as beautiful as they can on the PS5, but I imagine this is even more beautiful on a high-powered PC. Musically, the score remains similar to the first game, but I think this entry focuses more on atmosphere. The pieces are those booming orchestral arrangements like in the first game, but the compositions feel more like dirges. Running into battle with these droning horns and deep choir vocals captures the very religious feeling that the Imperium of Man gives off. When pieces get a little more energetic, that energy is earned, as those pieces are reserved for like the big boss battles. While all that is great, I think my other big gripe with this game lies in the audio mixing. The voice actors are just fucking buried in the mix. You could argue that would be realistic considering the battlefield environment, but I was struggling to make out what anyone was saying at times, even with headphones on. The audio design itself is fine, and the guns and explosions provide cool atmosphere in tandem with the score, but bring the people talking up a couple notches, please and thank you. The story, let's not mince words, it's fucking schlock. Pretty much the same plot as the first game. Big soldier boys kill monsters, stop big bad, the end. I suppose the soldier has dark secret trope that the writers were playing with for Titus's arc was kinda interesting. Watching these three soldiers work through distrust and secrets throughout these missions gave the characters some kind of hook. I really would like a more detailed examination of the Imperium in a piece of media, see how these politics play out in this world, but I guess that's a bit much to ask in this context. But what this story excels at, in my opinion, is earnestness. This team adores Warhammer, and it was all but impossible not to get swept up as these characters are given rousing speeches and killing monsters in the name of humankind. Like, come on, I mean, roll the footage, monkeys.
Traitors! They are everywhere! Lead me to the slaughter!
The simplicity of the story would have floundered had this team not shown a deft understanding and reverence for this iconic source material. Bringing Titus to life, unfortunately, is not the great Mark Strong. I suppose he was busy filming The Penguin. But his replacement, Clive Standen, was more than up to the task. Quite honestly, Standen was better suited for the role, at least in this context. A more grizzled, gruff-sounding version of this character, Standen's gravelly delivery made the conflicts between this squad more believable. Titus sounded like he was just having none of their shit, and it was perfect. To counter Standen as the big bad Inamura is Alistair Petrie. While his performance wasn't too spectacular in terms of nyuk-nyuk villains, he was nonetheless a damn good nyuk-nyuk villain. His interactions with Titus during those boss battles and his bombastic speeches were pretty entertaining. A vast improvement in all areas. I think Space Marine 2 is definitely worth all the hype. While I have issues with the game, and the story isn't much to shake a stick at in terms of length and quality, the love for this world this team has just radiates from the minute you click New Game. Fun hack and slash action that is gorgeous to look at and will provide you hours of fun with your friends in the multiplayer areas. If you're a Warhammer fanatic or just want some fun times with friends while playing the video, Space Marine 2 is definitely worth checking out. And I'm feeling a 7 to a 7.5 out of 10 on this one. I think it's closer to a 7.5 than it is a 7. It's just a fun time. The Emperor protects.